sex of the baby is determined even when it is a drop. Sex of the baby is determined when it is still a drop. Next we move to the alaqa stage. Alaqa, Qur'an says alaqa, it means a leech it means something that hangs on to something. It means a leech that lives in ponds and survives on blood sucking, and it can also mean a blood clot. Advanced electronic images now reveal that after the 15th day or so, the embryo loses its rounded shape and elongates until it reaches a shape very similar to a leech, very similar to a leech. It then obtains nourishment from the blood of the mother, just like a leech, which survives on blood sucking. Embryo is then surrounded by amniotic fluid, just like a leech, which is surrounded by pond water. Because of immature heart and the cardiovascular system, the embryo, although fluid at this stage does not circulate, so it also looks like a blood clot. So all the meanings are implied. The Qur'an says next stage is mudgha, chewed-like substance. Look how detailed the Qur'an is. The Qur'an gives sequence after sequence, and science exactly corresponds to what the Qur'an says. The Qur'an says next stage is mudgha. Mudgha means something that has been chewed by the teeth and bears teeth imprints. It means a piece of a meat of a size that can be chewed, and it also means a very small substance. Advanced electronic images now reveal that after the 26th day or so, the embryo resembles a chewed substance whose shape constantly changes and still bears teeth imprints, just as the Qur'an says. As the embryo receives nutrients and energy, the growth process starts rapidly, and the bodily masses called somites, from which the bones and the muscles of the back will be formed, begin to appear at this stage and look like teeth imprints, just as the Qur'an says. Just as a chewed substance gets curled before being swallowed, so does the back of the embryo gets curved at this stage. At this stage, the Qur'an says some of the cells are differentiated, some of the cells are not differentiated. Some of the organs are developed, limbs are developed, some of the limbs are not developed. In other words, some are in proportion, some are out of proportion. This is exactly what modern advanced electronic images are revealing, that at a stage of the embryo when it bears teeth imprints, something that looks like teeth imprints, the some of the cells are differentiated and some of them are not differentiated. Some of the organs are in proportion, some are out of proportion. Who could have given Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam this sort of details 14 centuries ago? Could it be anybody other than Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Subhanallah al-azim. The Quran says next stage is izam, skeletons or bones. Islamic position is during the izam phase, embryo acquires human features. I'm relating from the hadith of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, roughly translated, after the 42 nights have passed over the conceptus, Allah sends an angel to it who shapes it and makes its ears, eyes, skins, muscles and bones. Then he says, "O Lord, is it male or female?" Then your Lord decides what he wills, and the angels record it. Now, the photographs taken by the scientists just before the 42nd day clearly reveal that the embryo could not be distinguished from any animal embryo. And photographs taken right after the 42nd day, that is on the 44th or 43rd day, embryo starts to look human, just as Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam says. Embryo at this stage, that is at the beginning of 6th week, at the beginning of 7th week, embryo acquires a soft skeleton, and this skeletal form of the embryo gives it a human look. The trunk of the embryo at this stage has a large rounded head. The eyes move to the front to their specific positions, and the internal and external parts of the ears are formed at this stage, and the nose becomes recognizably human. Who could have given Rasul sallallahu alayhi wasallam this sort of details? He's telling us when the ears are coming, when the eyes are coming, when the skins are coming, when the bones are coming, when the muscles are coming. He's even giving us the exact date. Could it be anybody other than Almighty Allah Ta'ala who could have informed him? Qur'an says next stage is al-qissa bil-lahm, the clothing of the bones with intact flesh. Again, electronic images reveal today that at the beginning of 8th week, muscles begin to be formed around the bones, just as the Qur'an says. Just as the Qur'an says. Then there is nasha stage, which is growth process. The scientists tell us that from 9th week to 12th week, growth process remains slow, and 12th week onwards, growth process starts rapidly. The embryonic stage is characterized by initiation and development of the human organs, whereas the fetal stage is characterized by the preparation of various organs to perform their functions. In other words, the creature becomes capable of hearing and so on. Islamic scholars have compared the life of plants, life of a fetus with the life of plants, which have lives but no souls. Islamic scholars also tried to draw a relationship between phenomenon of sleep and existence of soul. The presence of sleep cycle, therefore, could be taken as an indication that the soul has already been acquired. The point I'm trying to get across here is such comprehensive, accurate, and chronologically ordered description of human prenatal development phase continues to stun the world's topmost embryologists. Nuclear physics. Dr. Alfred Connor is one of the most prominent, foremost nuclear physicists of the world. He was stunned that Qur'an 14 centuries ago mentions this verse. The Qur'an says, "Don't the unbelievers see that the heavens and the earth were joined together, and we split them asunder, and we made every living thing out of water?" When Dr. Alfred Connor came to this Quranic verse, he was so astonished. He said, someone living 14 centuries ago with no knowledge of nuclear physics simply would not be in a position to work out from his own mind that the heavens and the earth at one point were joined together or tied together, because the nuclear physicists of the world have come to comprehend this common origin of the universe only during the last few years, and with the help of very advanced and very sophisticated technological methods. Same Dr. Alfred Connor was equally amazed by this prophetic hadith on geology. So we are moving on to geology now. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "The last hour shall not come upon us. The last hour shall not come upon us until the lands of the Arabs are once again pastoral lands and filled with rivers." So Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is telling us that the lands of the Arabs were once green and wet, and they will become green and wet once again in the future. Today, all the geologists would confirm that at the beginning, during the last snow age, the lands of the Arabs were indeed filled with rivers and orchards, just as Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam says. Scientists and geologists have also hold all the information to confirm the beginning of another snow age. In fact, the North Polar iceberg is slowly moving southwards, and that is why it hits the northern parts of Europe and America with snow blizzards during every winter. And when it reaches close to the Arabian Peninsula, the weather is expected to change, and indeed the lands of the Arabs will once again become the wettest and the greenest part of the